Hello and welcome to our series of videos on digital content production. On this section we're going to start to look at video editing and the software that we commonly use for that. Starting with Adobe Premiere. So first off, we're going to open up our application, and the version of Premiere that we're using today is Adobe Premiere 2022, which is currently the most recent version. Your machine may use an older version. You may not have updated to the latest one as yet. Generally, everything will look the same depending on what version you're in, and the features that we're going to be focusing on mainly are going to be very generic across all versions of Adobe Premiere. So if your screen does look very slightly different, don't worry too much, but the focus of the video will hopefully cover everything that you need as well. So when you first open up Premiere, if it's your first time opening Premiere, it may look slightly different. They do offer a lot of tutorials and guidance for them first usage. So it's something that I work on day in, day out. So you can see as we open it up, it brings up a lot of recent projects that I have been working on. So I can quickly head back into a project that I've been working on recently. But what we want to do first is look up in this top left here. And I want to create a new project. Now you have a couple of other options here. We can open project, which will take us into our Windows Explorer to find a specific project that maybe is not included on our recent list. We have our Learn tab here, and again this will take us to a lot of tutorials on various things. So if you do want to learn more after completing these videos, have a look at what Adobe provide. And you know, they could have some good pointers and some good tips for you on there. So I'm just going to go back to home here, and I'm going to click new project. So when we start a new project, we have our new project window open, and it gives us a few options that we can kind of set for our project. The first one is obviously the name, so I'm going to call this Premiere Introduction, and it asks us where we want to save it. So for myself, I'm going to click browse, and this will take us to our Windows Explorer. If you're working on a Mac OS, then again it may look slightly different. Well, it will look slightly different. This will bring up the Finder window instead of Windows Explorer. And I'm going to go into my Adobe Premiere folder that I created previously, and I'm going to use this folder for all my project files and my footage and things like that. So I'm going to select this folder, and I'm going to have a little quick look down here. We have a few options that generally we're going to leave alone. I mean, this talks about what your computer is going to use to help with rendering and things like that. So the default options should be fine for just starting out. One thing I do want to just talk about very briefly is this tab here. So this is your scratch disks. Now as default, your scratch disks are saved in the same location as your project file. So that Adobe Premiere folder that I created previously, that's where it's going to save. That's where it's going to create our scratch disk. Now what a scratch disk is a virtual drive basically that's going to increase the memory and make more memory available to help with the processing and the running of the video editing application. Now video editing in itself is a very memory hungry process, especially when we start to work with high resolution footage such as 4K, and then we're adding motion graphics and After Effects files. It can be very memory hungry. So what a scratch disk does, this creates a folder in the same area that is used to create video previews and things like that, that's going to help your application run smoothly. Now like I said, as default it is the same as the project usually, and as long as your project is stored on a drive with lots of space available, and a fast drive, then you should be absolutely fine. The only time you may need to worry about your scratch disk location is if you're running your projects off maybe a little memory stick or something like that. You always want to try and make sure that there's as much storage as possible available for your scratch disk. So I'm just going to go back to general, and we've called our project Premiere Introduction, and we've given it a location, and I'm going to click OK. So that is how we create our new project in Adobe Premiere Pro. Up next, we're going to have a look at the workspace and how we customize our user interface to suit our needs.